What is up, fans? This is the second edition of the To Be Named podcast. At one point was the Harold McBasketball pod. Um, I'm your host, Harold McBasketball, here with my co-host, I Know Ball Paul. Excited to have you back for our second rendition of this podcast.
Thank you very much, McBasketball. The fans, let me know if you guys like that alias. I know Ball Paul. I came up with it 2 minutes ago, but I think it sounds kind of cool. I know Ball Paul, or leave suggestions. We're definitely open to them
Yeah, sound off
because
in the
yeah,
comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Maybe even vote on our Twitter
McBasketball.
poll later.
McBasketball is a classic, and I know Ball Paul is kind of like it sounds like something out of Barstool, but
Hey,
whatever.
hey, that works. I think I don't know, the energy feels good with it. I think our hearts are in the right place.
All right, I like
But
that. What are we discussing today?
I would say big things to discuss is yeah, we'll do quick talk about the finals. Of course, congratulations to the Nuggets. Congrats to Jokic. But obviously there's been like tons of talk about that right now, and we're all pretty excited about the off season. So after that, I'd love to jump into like the rumors that are already starting, start speculating on those before they start happening. Um, and then we're just gonna do like some little bits where we're gonna talk about two of our teams we're looking at that they could be like sneaky playoff contenders. And then two other teams that we kind of have question marks about, don't really know what they're doing right now. So yeah, we're gonna dive into those.
All right, yes. Shout out the Nuggets. I feel like a dumbass for not seeing it coming because they check off all my like they've been together for a while. They have like the best player on the floor 9 out of 10 times. Well coached. I don't know why I didn't see it coming, so that pisses me off. But I like their team. I love their players, so I'm happy they destroyed the Heat, and we can move on. Congratulations. I picked Jokic as my MVP. Let it be known.
Yeah, I'd
But
say
then I was like,
potentially definitely Finals MVP of the NBA as well. So another trophy for him. Um,
it's like it was so obvious. The guy is a
yeah,
monster.
it's such a weird thing. I feel like the dialogue around Jokic had become so toxic. And like honestly, in hindsight, like you
Yeah,
picked Jokic for MVP, I picked Embiid. This is why like it sucks picking MVP at the end of the regular season because in hindsight, like yeah, it's Jokic now because like the one knock against Jokic is like it feels weird to give someone, or at least like the thing that I was saying is like it felt weird to give someone the third straight MVP when they hadn't done a whole lot in the playoffs. But then he won the finals. Now I'm like, now I'd feel totally fine giving him his third straight MVP. Like he's clearly the best player in the league. Not only like
yeah.
carried that team to the finals, but absolutely dominated everyone. There's been a little bit of dialogue too around like, oh, they face like what, like an eighth seed, then like a four seed, then like a seventh seed and an eighth seed. That you play who you play, and they're all like very legit. Some of them very underseeded. Like the Suns were like by far the championship favorites going into the playoffs. So like
Right.
really that was like another one seed they were playing, who they destroyed. They stood no chance.
We should
The
have known that.
Lakers,
We kind of have a
yeah, no,
rule.
I agree, and it's like, and like Durant had just been swept the year before. I think he's not like on like the decline, but I think he's like I think he's a step back from what he was. So I think that's something to kind of look out to.
And
Separate note.
those blockbuster trades, they like never work out immediately. I feel like you had said
Yeah, they just
like
like suck all the talent out of the team. It's like
exactly.
they're guys the Suns lost, like Bridges and Cam Johnson, who were just like shooting the lights out from three, and then all of a sudden need to like I don't know rely on like some deep players off your bench, and like T.J. Warren couldn't even like find minutes in the playoffs. I don't even know who they were playing.
I
They were
forgot he was
messy.
even. It's funny how
Yeah,
people are like they played the eighth seed and then what the fourth or fifth seed, but it's like yeah, that's how seeding works, man. Like the
yeah.
first
It's
seed
like
plays,
you play lower seeds,
they get
and
the
like
winner of 4 or 5.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, and when they were playing the Lakers, literally everyone picked the Lakers to win. Like the Lakers were like favored to win that series, which was, and then they got swept. Like I think like the Nuggets were really good. People didn't realize it, and it's almost like everyone's kind of like that. Like the low seeding thing is just an excuse that people are using to explain how this team won, even though they didn't like predict them to win, even though they beat the teams
Yeah,
that everyone else had been predicting to win, such as like the Suns and the Lakers. So I don't know what to tell you.
exactly. All right, we can move on from that. Shout out Nuggets. Should have seen it
Yeah.
coming.
Shout out Nuggets. Shout out Jamal Murray. He's amazing. Shout out Aaron Gordon.
And
He was so good.
reverse shout out Celtics. Fuck you guys. Despicable.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's see
Brutal
how it's not.
loss. Would have put up a better series. Heat were trash. Cody Martin's trash. Or is that Caleb? I don't even know. One of the Martins, whichever one it is. They're both
Caleb,
trash.
Caleb.
They both suck.
It's Caleb. He's
Max
cool.
Strus was kicking our ass. Also pretty mid. There's mid. And like they just played the 3-point game. They were like, we can get only 3-point shooters. If we shoot over 50% from three in the series, we'll probably win. That's our only chance to win. And they just like happened to do it against like the Bucks and the Celtics against all odds. So they played the numbers game. I think the probability of them doing that was low. It happened. It's annoying. I hate it. We're done talking about it.
All right, we're done. Yep.
All right.
Let's
More fun
run
stuff.
rumors.
Yeah, rumors. Is there any like burning rumor that you think is like the coolest that you would like to start with? Or just like most interesting maybe? Or it's just like so dumb that you want to start with it? Because I can totally throw some stuff out there.
Yeah, you throw some stuff out there. None of these
I
are
think
cool.
I think the one that I thought was like the most interesting and thought provoking was the idea of the Pelicans potentially trying to trade up to the second pick at Scoot and
Mm.
maybe even moving Zion to do it. I think already that's like starting to fizzle out a little bit, but I thought it was interesting because I kind of thought it was a move that sounds ridiculous, but also kind of makes sense. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that would be super interesting. And it's like Zion just can't stay on the floor, obviously, but he's like such a generational talent. And like the Pelicans are almost in win now mode. Like they have a
Yeah.
deep roster. And Ingram can't stay healthy, Zion can't stay healthy, and then like they had some other small injuries here and there. So yeah, no, that'd be interesting to see, but I don't know if I'm the Pelicans if I would do that, which is yeah, no, that one is quite thought provoking. That one kind of hurts my brain, but because Zion
Yeah,
is such a generational talent, he is the difference maker on the floor. I guess also it's like Brandon Ingram can't stay healthy. He cannot play more than like 55 games a season. He's not.
McCollum also always gets hurt. Like McCollum like misses
Oh
at
yeah.
least 30 games every season as well. So no,
So
I think you do like a good point there. It's a little bit tough to like single out Zion as like the injury problem. And like he is an injury problem, but the
yeah.
entire team kind of is. So their best strategy still might be kind of doing what the Clippers are doing and being like, we know we're always hurt, but if we can just be healthy once, maybe we can win the championship. And I guess like the hedge there would be like if they did make the move for Scoot, maybe then they would make some other moves and kind of be like, all right, we're gonna rebuild. We're gonna get Scoot to be like, the new guy to build our young core around. Then maybe we trade McCollum, trade Ingram, still good value for them. Trade Valanciunas, so I think you can also like maybe get a first round pick for. Um, that being like a late one. And then I think it also makes sense for the Hornets, which I kind of like. Because like it doesn't make a ton of sense for the Hornets to draft Scoot Henderson, because they have LaMelo, so that feels like it kind of clashes. Whereas like if they trade that pick for someone like Zion, like all of a sudden that's like an amazing fit between Zion and LaMelo. So it's like a move that like, I absolutely love for the Hornets. I think that would be great. It's a move that I think kind of makes sense for the Pelicans, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like I think Zion probably is the better player, so I think you probably still tough it out with him.
And then it kind of puts the Pelicans into this kind of weird predicament where I feel like they're still not competing. Scoot is 19, and I don't think Brandon Ingram is carrying that squad of talent anywhere too far. And like, so what? So they're just rebuilding, and then you might as well trade away CJ and Brandon. And so I think that move ultimately says they're officially rebuilding.
Yeah,
They
I
gotta
think
have a
we feel
big
that way
leeway
too.
to compete if they stay healthy and in the same light as the Clippers, who I think they have a better chance of staying healthy than the Clippers.
Yeah,
Should.
I agree with that. They're at least younger than the Clippers, and still feels like, and maybe it shouldn't feel this way for Zion, but it still feels like some of the injuries are kind of just like dumb luck. Like it's not like he's like blowing out his ACL or like tearing his Achilles. It's like he like breaks like a small bone in his foot, and it's just like they just like can't. I also wonder if like the medical staff in New Orleans just sucks because I feel like every time Zion gets hurt, they're like it's 4 weeks, and then like 6 months later he's still not healthy. And they're like, all right, we're gonna try like a different thing to see if this fixes it. It doesn't, then he gets surgery and misses like a full year. And it's like if you get kind of like diagnosed this properly first and just immediately done the surgery, I feel like that cuts this recovery from like a full year to like 4 months.
Yeah, medical staff is so interesting. Do they not just like go to a doctor? Like, why don't they
That,
just go to
I don't know because I do think like the because I think the medical staffs work for the teams essentially. So I think sometimes there's like a conflict of interest or like the medical staff will almost want to do what's best for the team. So sometimes I think they'll like give advice or recommendations that essentially helps the team and gets the player back quicker in theory, but not might not be the best long term move. I feel like the Celtics kind of this is kind of a separate tangent. The Celtics kind of did it with Rob Williams 2 years ago when like he had
Yeah,
like a meniscus issue and like they could have like surgery to like repair it, or they could have done like the fast route, which is just like removing part of the meniscus, and they did that. And now he still has knee problems. It's like, well, maybe we should have gone with the better long term recovery method. Oh,
yeah.
side tangent there.
Maybe some investigative journalism in that area. We could uncover some dirt. Maybe we'll get some guys on that. But
Yeah, I'll talk to my sources. I think closing remark for the Zion one is also that I feel like there's been rumors for a while that he just like doesn't like New Orleans that much. So if like the Pelicans are worried that might become an issue at some point, maybe they could get ahead of it now and get a really good young player instead of waiting it out and then all of a sudden when he demands a trade with like a year left on his contract and they can't get as much, in theory, we better do it now.
yeah, no, yeah, um, yeah. Scoot, I like Scoot a lot. I think there's a couple question marks, but um, it's 50-50 whether I would trade Zion for him.
Yeah,
Um,
that's that. Yeah, that's kind of my closeout. Um, let's see. Any other things you want to talk about? Any other good rumors? I see one or
I
two.
guess it'll be interesting if Harden ends up. It seems like he is going to opt out of that and go to Houston. I don't understand why Houston would welcome Harden. They just kind of have that
I don't
sort of
really
a
get
love
it
affair.
either.
But
Yeah, I don't really
well,
know. It's a different front office too, like a different regime. Because it used to be Daryl Morey when he was in Houston, and then Morey obviously went to Philly. Harden met with him in Philly. So now it's like a new front office in Houston, new coaching staff, brand new players. They're in full rebuild. Like they were complete trash last year. So it's
yeah,
like I don't really see how like Harden joining Houston benefits Harden because I'm still not sure if they'd be a playoff team. And I don't really see
I
how it
kind of
benefits. Yeah, what's up?
for some reason I think it's going to happen.
I
Harden
think
just
so
seems
too.
like
It's just like I think Harden just likes Houston. Like I'm in Houston right now. It's a great city. I think he just likes it and wants to live there again. And it's like I understand that. So I think it's almost up to the Rockets to say like this just doesn't line up with our timeline. I think it's better for them to be bad for one more year to try to get another top 10 pick. They're probably too good going into next year to get a top 5 pick, but get another lottery pick. Develop your talents a little bit more. I think if you bring on Harden, like probably not great for Jalen Green. It's gonna make his bad habits even worse because all Harden does is play ISO ball,
yeah,
and it's gonna get Jalen Green the ball less. Şengün's not gonna have the opportunity to play more like Jokic, kind of create offense out of the post. They're just gonna turn him into like a pick and roll man essentially.
yeah.
And they might even just like take him off the floor if they have Harden. If they have Harden, they might just run Jabari at 5 just to get shooting out there. I don't know.
No,
I feel like I
that
feel like it messes up a lot of what they're trying to do. So I don't know. I hate those rumors. I think Houston will probably do it because by all accounts, like this front office is still pretty dysfunctional. So we'll see. We'll see. Not a move I like though. I personally would not do it.
yeah, no. But if I'm Philly, I also might not want to keep Harden, but I think he has a player option, so it's kind of it should be
Yeah.
interesting. Should
I,
be
I
very,
I thought he was a pretty good fit in Philly. Like if I'm Philly, I would definitely try to keep him around. He had a couple down performances in the playoffs, but I think the benefits still outweigh the cons. And it's just like it's hard to
yeah.
replace that kind of production. Like Max, you would step up a little bit, but I don't
He would
know.
step
I
up a
don't know.
lot. He would step
He
up a
he would step
lot
up a
bit.
lot of it, but then like I don't know. But then are you back to like Tobias Harris is your third best player? Like that's not good. Like
Yeah,
that's a
no.
problem.
Yeah, agreed. Any other rumors we feel need to be addressed? There's Lillard and a bit of Jalen
Yeah,
Brown
yeah, we kind of know some of
speculation.
that stuff. I might just kind of like run through these real quick and just do like one-liners on them, give my thoughts. Like Jalen Brown discussions, I think are dumb.
Yeah.
I think he's just not gonna get traded. He's getting extended, so I don't know what anyone was talking about with that. Um, the CB3 stuff is weird because they said he cut him, and then they didn't cut him, and now he's still on the team, and now he's also in trade rumors for Beal. Don't really know what's going on with that.
That's a good point. Is it like they just are going to cut him? It was kind of a verbal thing. They have to
I
wait to a certain day.
I think it was essentially they were going to cut him, and then they realized there may be teams that are interested in trading for him. So then they're like, just kidding. Like, we're not going to cut you. We're going to try to trade you. If we can't trade you, then we're going to cut you.
Because I feel like that there's some date in June that they have to cut him by or something.
Yeah, I
If
think
they
you're
don't
probably
want to pay
right about that. I
him.
don't think it's June. I feel like June is too soon, but there
Okay,
definitely is
yeah.
like a date they need to cut him by because only half of his contract is guaranteed. And if they wait past that, it gets guaranteed. If they cut him, then they can get away only paying half of his contract. So there's a date they need to cut him by.
Super quick aside, but it's funny how like you like uncover these parts of the contract. Like everyone just really sees contracts for like what they are on their face, and then like you find out that there's all these like guarantees and non-guarantees and these exceptions, and then you're like, oh, that's not as great of
Yeah,
a contract. They had to play this many
for
games
sure.
and they're injury prone.
Yeah, and that's why I was in hindsight it was weird that when like the Suns initially traded for Chris Paul, they're like, it's gonna suck when Chris Paul is 40 making $30 million, but he's got 2 years left on his contract, but this year's only half guaranteed, and none of next year is guaranteed. So it's like
Yeah,
they're essentially like halfway through the contract, and they can just cut him and be done with him. So it's like
it's
all
a
of a sudden that like
edge
120, yeah, the $120 million contract is really only like a $70 million contract. It's very much like an
yeah.
NFL contract. That's how they do it in the NFL. Yeah, that's Chris Paul talk. Don't know what they're doing there. Um, I feel like the Beal stuff might even need its own episode at some point. My take is like I don't like fully get the hype though. I just like don't think Beal is like that good. I think he's an undersized guard. His production has dropped off a ton. He's making like over $50 million per year. If I'm trying to contend, I just don't think I can contend with him on my team. Like that's just how I feel.
Yeah, yeah. I'll refrain from commenting. I mean, I'm mostly in the same ballpark, but I think he's got some production left in him, and
Yeah, maybe we'll wait for this trade to actually go through, and then we can do an episode on it because we probably need
I'm
like 15 or 20 minutes to unpack it.
not trading for that contract under like any circumstances. Like even as the Heat, like I do not want to touch $50
Yeah,
million over the next few years for fucking Bradley Beal. Like that
yeah,
is
and if he's having 23 per game as like the primary option on the team, if you make him like the second or third option on a team, like could that go down to like 19, like 18 points per game? Like I feel like that'd be really dicey.
for sure. It wasn't too long ago he was putting up like 30,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I
was
think those
he was
days are gone
awesome.
though.
I can see those days.
Yeah, and like he was just like shot chucking to the max. Like there was literally nobody on that team that year, and they sucked.
Yeah, yeah. Fair, fair, fair.
All right, let's see. Continuing to our segments. I think we start
Any
off
other,
with teams with what's up?
I was gonna say any other rumors we're putting to bed, or should we hop
God,
into our segment? I mean, yeah, I think we touched on.
I think so too. I think the only other thing that I'd be like, this shouldn't happen is like KP to the Blazers for the third overall pick. Don't do that, Trailblazers. Don't trade the third overall pick for someone who's going to play 30 games. All right, sneaky playoff teams. We're done talking rumors. We'll touch base with them again, like once things actually start unfolding. But as of now, it's tough to figure out like what's a smoke screen and what actually could happen. So sneaky playoff teams. The way I interpreted this is kind of like teams who didn't make the playoffs last year or were in the play-in, but not seriously threatening to get in. That I think have like a good chance to like not only like make it, but maybe even potentially make it like straight up like without even being in the play-in.
Yeah, I think I had the same interpretation.
perfect. Do you wanna
And
throw a team out there? I think there's one team we're both gonna have. So like, give me like your
okay,
your strongest bet.
okay. For me, and this is a team that I fucking love for whatever reason. I just have these like weird kind of infatuations with teams, and that's the Magic. Was that yours?
Interesting. No, that like was not my team. That was like the team. The Magic was one of my teams, and I subbed them out of my last spot.
Oh no.
They're on my long list.
Yeah, the Magic are kind of interesting, and like there is a chance that they don't confidently make the playoffs next year. I think they will make it the play in or a low seed. But I just love the team. I think like they're a young core that's kind of figured out their identity in the second half of last year. Everyone's improving, everyone's on the right track, and like they have a great mix of playmakers and guys that can play off each other, and young coach, the seventh pick, I think, coming up. And so, yeah, no, I love them. And I think they're going to be the team with the biggest upswing. And like they were kind of ass. So, like that upswing could be still like back end of the playoffs. But that's my
Yeah, they
biggest pick
they're
for.
that's a good take. They're a fun team last year. Like I said, they're on my long list. I got like a bunch of notes here, but like Bankero feels like he can already take the step and be an all-star next year. Franz was like he averaged like 20 points per game on really good efficiency last year. Like he's already an awesome player. And then I think they've got like a bunch of young guys. It's like they almost need just like one of them to like take a step and like show us that they're gonna take on a bigger role. And they've got like so many young guys that I feel like someone's gonna do it. It's like Fultz was low key really good last year. His per 36 is like
Yeah.
kind of insane. So he's almost like showing flashes to be like a little bit of like a triple double threat. I think Suggs, although it kind of looks like he sucks, maybe something could happen there. Maybe something could happen with Cole Anthony. Maybe Wendell Carter Jr. can stay healthy. Maybe they nailed the pick. I don't know, but I think if like one more of those players kind of turns into like a valued contributor, I think that would be huge for that team.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Jalen Suggs shows signs, but he's very inconsistent. But I like that he's kind of defensive minded. He'll get you steals, and then the 3-point shooting has a lot of potential. But I think
Yeah.
just that core of Fultz, Franz, and Paolo, and hopefully Wendell Carter is such a good player when he can stay on the floor. But I don't know, those three, man, they're just vibes. Franz got a bit
They
better,
they just play well together. They just look good when they're running.
and I think a great sign is that Paolo just like gets to the line like a superstar, basically. Like they are always at the
Yeah.
free throw line. Their 3-point shooting kind of sucks, but like I think that's something that just kind of comes um with kind of getting into the flow of things and better understanding everyone's roles. And like Markel is kind of a horrible shooter, but he had a bit of an uptick last year.
And like the form looks better. Like it looks cleaner.
Yeah,
Like it's kind of like a weird low release now for him, but it's one motion, which is nice. There's no hitch in it anymore, which is huge.
I think Paolo
And he did
also
like hit it.
sub 30.
Yeah,
So
Paulo's yeah, but like Paulo's just like the eyeball test. You look at him and you can tell that he's just like a superstar.
yeah,
And he's gonna get there. Like his upside is like easily top 20 player in the NBA. And he can get there pretty quickly. Like even just like the start of his rookie year, I was like, this guy might be an all-star his rookie year. And
yeah,
then you can see him kind of like taper off towards the end of the year, and I think it was just like a conditioning thing as a rookie. Like you're just playing a lot more games than you did in college. But I thought he like very clearly could have been an all-star. I could totally see him averaging like 20 plus points per game next season, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, stealing a block. And like if you got someone doing that on your team, like all of a sudden you could very easily, be contending for at least a play-in spot.
yeah, yeah. He's awesome. He like I don't think he missed more than like a handful of games, playing like 35 minutes a night. So like you
Yeah,
said, I
he's
think
also
big dip towards the end, and like once he gets used to that, then all those numbers go up.
yeah. Yeah, and I think I'll have that figured out for next season.
Yeah,
All right, my turn.
and
I'm gonna
Fultz also bunch of, sorry. I
Close,
was gonna say real quick,
closing
Fultz.
thoughts. Then I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, closing thoughts. They're kind of my hot take, I guess, of the year. And Fultz, I think, is a big key to like he just plays the right way. He's so aggressive, and the playmaking I think is very underrated. He's like an elite playmaker in this league, and I think those three plus Wendell is like very high ceiling, and they're like 21, 22 with Franz and Paolo. So shout out. Your turn.
Sweet. So my team was a play-in team last year, lost in the play-in tournament, but high potential team.
That's
Are they on your list as well? Do you know who it is?
they are on my list. They're kind of I didn't put too much effort into looking at them, but is it the Thunder?
Yeah, and the Thunder are a team that I think have like a good chance to not only make playoffs next year, but just like be entirely out
Yeah.
of the play in discussion, get like a fifth or sixth seed. Um,
Yeah.
I think they've got an awesome team. It's like I think just like SGA superstar, top 20 player. Josh Giddey is like the perfect point guard for any team, and his shooting gets better every year. You got Jalen Williams, who as a rookie was absolutely incredible. You know, runner up for the Rookie of the Year award. And then they very sneaky just have like Chet Holmgren coming back next year, who was like the second
Yeah.
overall pick and probably would have been the first overall pick if there weren't just like some injury concerns with him. But I think Chet is going to be like insane. Like he's like a 7 foot sharpshooter, really clean handle on the ball, great defender. I think he probably averaged like 3+ blocks per game at Gonzaga. Like he's incredible. I think he's going to make a huge difference for this team that is already almost in the playoffs.
I remember pre-injury, he was like your pick for the Rookie of the Year last year, and
I think he'll
your
technically be
hype on.
eligible this year if you think about it. He didn't play at all
He
last year, so technically he could be eligible for Rookie of the Year this year. Will
should
he be
be.
my
I
pick?
don't.
Probably not. It'll probably be Wemby, but I don't know. Maybe there's a hot take somewhere in there.
Yeah, maybe Wemby just won't play enough games. He'll be at like 50 something, and
Yeah,
no, yeah,
yeah.
but
Or maybe Chet's just so good, but I don't know.
the Thunder also like the latter half of the year, and in the play-in tournament, they looked good. Like SGA, I forget who did they play the second game. They played two, right?
I
Or
think
they
so.
played
Yeah,
two.
I think they won. I think they won the first and they lose to the Lakers. Is that what it was?
Fuck, I forget. Yeah, that sounds right though. Um, but yeah, no, SGA just is a superstar. Like he's one of the most efficient finishers and like a great shooter on top of that. So, and then Giddy, I mean, we all love Giddy. But yeah, the efficiency and the scoring is on the uptake, and like the assists didn't go up, I think, and the rebounds are kind of what they were, but like you just see that he's improved so much as a player, and he just has way more talent on his team. So um yeah, no, that's a great pick. And yeah, they probably will be like a fourth or fifth seed because the West is still
Yeah,
a bit up in the
yeah.
air.
The West is still very questionable too. I think it's gonna be a lot easier for some teams who weren't in the playoffs last year to crack into the West this year because it still just feels so wide open.
Which pick do they have this year? Do we know?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think it's crazy high, but I think they've got like a lot of draft picks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're
So
still
like I
stacking them
think
up.
they still have like yeah, I think they still have like 3 first rounders or something in this upcoming draft. And here I'm just doing a quick search. Let's see. They've got the 12th pick. So you know, it's nothing crazy, but I mean adding another lottery talent like certainly doesn't hurt. And the Thunder have
Yeah.
drafted so well recently that this kind of feels like something that could just turn into another quality player. Like they drafted Jalen Williams pretty late last year, at least like late in the lottery. So if they could find anyone who can even give like remotely similar production to Jalen Williams, like that would be huge. And they still have like some decent role players. Like they still have Dort, who's like still just like a pretty good defender, hits some big
Yeah,
threes
Dort,
every now and then. So I
other
think they're going in the right
Williams,
direction right now. The
I
other
think
Jalen
other
Williams, yeah,
little potential
he's
there, like kind of similar to the Magic, a young player that we could see take a bit of a
yeah.
leap, but
Let's
still
see. They
very
also got
young. Very
Poku. Trey Mann
fuck
was
Poku.
showing decent signs. Yeah, yeah, Poku actually does suck, but you know, hey,
Poku
it's
is
fine.
trash, man. I swear.
Yeah, I don't.
Uh,
I'm not
is
gonna.
it?
I'm not gonna sit up here and debate that because I've seen Poku play enough. All
Yeah,
right, cool.
he's
So
just not
Thunder.
fast
I
yet.
think yeah, I think Thunder was like a pretty easy take for that one. So I think we got our point across. I mean, there's like good team last year. They're getting back Chet, who's a second overall pick from last year. They should be sick. All right, give me another team.
My next team would be the Pacers.
Ooh,
Um,
the Pacers like the third on my list. I got one more team
yeah,
before the Pacers, but they're on mine.
I think that they could kind of fall into the question mark because they have a lot of cap space heading into this season. So it kind of depends if they sign anyone significant, but just on the basis of Hallie missed a good chunk of games and he's just a bona fide superstar. Matherin looked NBA ready, and he I think is just going to take another step in his confidence. Like they have the seventh pick in the draft. And I don't know. They just kind of again passed the vibe test of like a lot of players who know their spots or know their roles. Like Hallie is at the helm of the ship. It's kind of his second year with this new team. I think they kind of make the back end of the playoffs. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a team that
secondly,
makes a lot of sense.
right. And I
I,
feel like they lack a bit of talent, a bit of girth, if you will, but they
yeah, but they're a young enough team to where like maybe that will be coming, but I feel like Halliburton's probably the best. Maybe Jokic is the best passer in the league, but I think Halliburton's either like in the discussion, and I think he's probably the best at the point guard position. Um,
yeah,
and I think Turner makes a ton of sense as the center there. Great defender, can stretch the floor. He's huge. He's like 7'1". He can run the pick and roll with Halliburton. So you get that great like two-man game going. And then he's like surrounded with pretty good players. Like they still have Buddy Hield, who's like still a lights out shooter. You got Mathen, who's got a lot of potential, really explosive, good form. Like it seems like he's gonna be a good 3-point shooter. And they still have the seventh overall pick. If they could use that to get like another small forward who can shoot a little bit, like that just rounds out your starting offense. Funny enough, it kind of feels like they could mirror what Sacramento is doing a little bit, where you get like a really good two-man game going with like the point guard and the center, and then you just like surround it with shooting for the shooting guard position and like the forward positions, and then you just like run that pick and roll all day. And I just think that's a good way to set up an offense. I just think it works.
yeah. I love that it feels like they finally like accepted Turner for the person he is and kind of the
Yeah,
potential he has.
Yeah, they were trying to trade him for so long, and it's like this is a really good player. He's still young. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what their deal was. Yeah.
But now it's like hopefully, and it seems like he's going to be their long term play, and like good for him. Awesome defender, shows a lot of upside on offense, and like he can shoot the ball a bit. So and yeah, it'll just be interesting what they do with that cap space. And like the free agency this year is kind of mid, but like I think they can find some role players on good deals. Hallie's contract, I was looking at kind of he's up for like his big re-signing when like Buddy's contract ends and some other kind of middle contracts end. So they have like a nice situation there where they can take their time but look to find kind of diamonds in the rough. See if like Grant Williams I think could be a decent signing if they can
Oh,
slightly
totally.
outbid the Celtics. Maybe
Yeah.
Kyle Kuzma might be he might be asking for a bit too much, but like they have that room, that second highest cap space again.
Yeah, and that's the right idea. That's kind of the one piece that they should be looking for in free agency right now would be someone who can kind of slot in at that starting power forward position next to Miles Turner and just be able to hit like catch and shoot threes from Halliburton when they're running the pick and roll.
For sure. Yeah, that's about all I had to say about them. But yeah,
Cool.
I could see being a play-in team. I don't know how much of an upside they truly have, but I'm excited
Yeah,
to
for
hear
sure.
your
And,
next
and
pick.
yeah, and the East is just gonna be like a little bit trickier because it feels a lot deeper than the West. Like the West, like things feel like they're pretty up for grabs. Um, Whereas with the East, like you just like look at it and it feels like at least like six spots are locked up, or at least like out of reach of like any of these teams like Pacers or Magic. It's really just be like the seventh and eighth seeds that might open up from the Nets taking a step back after the trade. Like that's gonna open up a spot. And
Yeah.
then maybe a spot will open up from like the Hawks or something if they don't have a great year. And you got teams like the Raptors who are probably taking a step back and won't really be in contention. So I'll make it a little bit easier, but there's probably only be one spot that opens up for a new team in the East.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Bulls maybe add to that list. There's that are kind of in that nebulous.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe
Little,
it'll be a question mark team. All right,
but
anyway, we're
those
gonna
top
we're gonna
six.
part two this because we're running low on time. So stay tuned. This way we also get some extra ad revenue by having a second video for you guys to click on. So stay tuned, hit that like button. Yeah, part two. We appreciate the ad revenue. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to hit that like button, of course. Yeah, where we left off is we had one more sneaky playoff team to go through, and then we'll get to like our question marks, our teams we don't really know what they're doing. So without further ado, my final sneaky playoff team was the worst team in the league, the one that got the number one overall pick, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. And I think it's pretty easy to point to why here. It's like the main reason they have Wembanyama now, and he might be amazing. He might just walk into the league and be one of the best players. And if that's the case, and he's 7'4", playing great defense, might be averaging like 3 blocks per game. I think it's possible like his impact is amazing immediately, and that could be enough to sneak this team into like the last spot, like the play in. And then they got a puncher's chance from there.
Yep. And spoiler alert, he is gonna come in and he is gonna be amazing. And fuck
Yeah,
anyone that's
he's gonna be sick. He's gonna be unreal.
I think he's that good. And it's gonna just be a question of how San Antonio kind of manages him early on. Like they don't care to make the playoffs, obviously, immediately. It might just be like what happens because he's that good. But I expect them to really manage his time. They're gonna rest him a lot. They don't have like an amazing core around him yet. So um
Yeah, it's
it,
definitely
it
gonna be it's definitely gonna be the Wembanyama show. Like it's not like he's like coming in there and there's like a couple other young players we can point to and be like, wow, this is like this is kind of the core that San Antonio is gonna build off of. Like looking at it on paper, like it feels like they need to get one or two more players. Um, but I don't know. I think Wembanyama is gonna be really good immediately, and maybe they have enough between like Keldon Johnson, Vassell, just to get like enough support to get other points, and like they still have like Sohan, and like Sohan's kind of amazing. I think like that's a really good fit between him and Wembanyama because like I don't know, like Sohan's such like a smart player, great defender, good passer. Like, is there any room to like do pick and rolls between those two and like set up shooters around them? They could just run a huge lineup. They could just start Sohan at point guard. I would love to see them do that. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting team. You got Pop coaching it. I don't know. It seems like the vibes are going to be amazing in San Antonio next season.
for sure. Yeah. And Vassell is a very good player. He really is. He's better than Keldon Johnson.
Yep.
The guy dealt with a lot of injuries last year, but like he's a great scorer. He's got length. He's kind of like who's
Yeah,
a
he's
good
shifty too. He
comparison?
definitely he definitely passes the eyeball test. Like he just looks good
Yeah,
when
no,
he's
that
playing.
is killer. So like, yeah, I'd give him like a 84, 85 in 2K, he's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I'd say going to next season he'll be their second
So
best player.
and I think Trey Jones is kind of interesting. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and like
He's
they
time.
and like bringing up him, like there's some other guys too who are interesting, like because they also drafted Malachi Branham last year, and like he actually like
Yeah,
showed flashes towards the end of the season to being like a pretty good scorer. So I think they have pieces that can kind of help support Wembanyama and just like get points in other ways, and and I think that'll be helpful. I think that'll kind of give them enough to be competitive.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and like I feel like even if Wembanyama plays like 50 games, like you said, they kind of have enough behind him to where his 50 games could impact them on a level of sneaking them into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think you're right. That's probably gonna be the biggest question because like if Wembanyama plays 75 games, I think they're in the play-in tournament like no problem. But if he plays like
Yeah,
50, then that's gonna be hard. Then we're kind of back to the San Antonio team that won what 22 games this last season. So it's gonna be hard for them to win without Victor on the floor. So we'll see how well he holds up, over 82 games. And they might
and
just choose to
again, you
rest him
can
a lot. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think they will. But yeah, no, Victor, man, just let it be known. It's obvious, but like there's still a few doubters out there.
I don't
People
know.
that are
Yeah, I
saying
heard some people in
crazy,
the group chat.
crazy. We're not going to name them, but their names rhyme with like seven Kong. But and
That
I mean, like, come on, dude. No, if Victor is like, I know you see those crazy highlights with the handle, blah blah blah, but like, I don't know. I feel like his size, obviously, but like he has like an absolute strap. Like the timing on the defensive end just feels like I don't know. I feel like it's like he has like the talent on top of just like every physical gift you could possibly want in a guy, and like, and it seems like he just takes care
yeah.
of his body, super
It
dedicated. Like,
somehow it even still feels like people are looking past his physical gifts. Like just to have someone who's 7'4" on the court and can move like him, even if he was like a total stiff and didn't know how to like play, he would still be a huge asset on defense alone. And just like on the glass, he's going to be on the offensive glass. But then to like have the shooting and the handle and the touch that he has is there's a reason that everyone's saying he's the best prospect since LeBron. And I think I think that's super fair. I think he walks in the league as like a top 20 player. And I think even by the end of his first season, like he could be higher than that.
yeah, and like he's not super strong. He's a bit skinny. What fucking ever. He's 7'4", immaculate timing, and he's 19. He's like
Yeah,
19
and
and a
like
half as we record this. So
yeah, and he doesn't need to be big. Like his game isn't like the low block. Like you don't need him for that. And as far as like defense goes, like he might be better served in kind of like playing like a rover position where it's more so he like plays in the corner, then crashes for blocks and for rebounds, rather than being like the post defender for Joel Embiid. Like I think it'd be very easy to like game plan defensively when Wembanyama's on your team. Like his versatility is crazy. So I think it's
I'm so
insane when anyone ever says that they have like concerns defensively when it comes to him. Like I just don't think there's anything to that.
just that one clip of Kenny Lofton Jr. just like bodying him in the post. Like fucking whatever.
Yeah. And Wembanyama still had like 8 blocks that game. So like I don't want to hear it.
Kenny's good.
Yeah,
Actually, I
yeah,
retract.
yes.
I
I
take it back.
I enjoyed the idea of Kenny, but yeah, no, I think the retraction was fair.
Anyway,
Question marks?
yeah, let's move on to the question marks. I'm gonna pull up the doc.
All right, yeah, pull that
Uh,
up. Give me your first team. Again, like I'm surprised you know the same first team in the last one. I think we will for this one though. I'm even more confident that we will have the same first team for question
are
marks,
you making?
unless you kind of opted to go away from the obvious choice.
I might have, man. My brain kind of works in mysterious ways sometimes. Well,
All right,
the big
give me
one,
what you got.
the Rockets,
Interesting. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's not who I had.
and we kind of touched about it earlier in the show, and like a big part of this huge question mark comes down to who they land with like their immense amount of cap space. But I mean, I think there's so many other just like it's like cumulatively, if I said that right, they're maybe not the biggest question mark, but they have so many like smaller question marks with how Ime is gonna fit, who they go for. Like, are they gonna play through Jalen Green more? Or are they gonna opt to go through the bigs? Um, there's just like a lot of moving pieces, I think, with the Rockets, and how this season could end up. Um, based on what they do in this offseason and kind of who they choose to make their kind of centerpiece with Ime as the coach, because I think Ime is going to be the coach for the near future, and like how he chooses to play. If he sees Sengun as that centerpiece, that's one thing, or if he kind of keeps the Green Show going, that's another. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
a good point. Yeah, I'm almost like waiting to like see what the Rockets do because like when I look at them, it's like I think it's clear what they need to do with the roster. I think the big question for me though is like, do they actually do that? Because like I think they've got a roster in place to where like yes, they can just play through Şengün. It would be amazing. The assists, the bounce passes, they'd be gorgeous. You got good guys in places like get shots off them and like KPJ, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr. if his 3-point shot comes on a little bit more. Um, but you just like don't know if the Rockets are actually gonna take advantage of what they have, and like they might just like mess it up and sign James Harden or like sign somebody else, or like you said, they might decide not to focus on Şengün and maybe just go back to like my turn, your turn with like KPJ and Jalen Green. So no, you're right. There are a lot of like big question marks around it, and I think one of the biggest ones also is like, do you tank for another season or do you try to get good now? I think you try to tank for another season, but it feels like the front office thinks otherwise. I'm like, they're like, we got Ime now, we got cap space. Let's try to win right now. And I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the
you,
right
you
move.
kind of you get that feeling that Houston is like a little bit too eager to be a great basketball team again, and they haven't fully embraced that rebuild. And like that probably comes mainly from the rumors of wanting to land another superstar. But it's like just appreciate what you have. You have Sangoon, who's 20, Jabari, who's 20, Jalen, who's 21, Tari Eason is fucking ready to go at 22. Kenyon Martin is super slept on. And then KPJ, he's like 22, 23.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
had a
he's
good young
23.
team.
And
Yeah, and
and
that's
like Sangoon and Jabari is like a dream, I think, to build around and to have as your kind of mainstays. And Jalen Green, I think I lean more in the camp that he's going to be a good player, if not a great player one day. Like the guy can shoot off the dribble. He's so explosive, but like I think they need to stop making him the only centerpiece and kind of move through Sengun and Jabari this year.
yeah, they
And
and yeah, I think it was pretty clear that like because they drafted Jalen Green and Şengün in like the same draft class, and early on it was like apparent that Şengün was the better player, but they invested more draft capital in Jalen Green. So I think they made it more of a priority. They're like, we spent a high pick on you. This has to look good. Like we invested too much on you, not to like make you the top priority. Whereas like in reality, like once you kind of like get to camp, you should just like evaluate your draft talent. If one of them is better, then you should feature them more instead of like benching them their first year. The front office then traded Christian Wood to like open up that spot for Şengün, and they still tried to bring him off the bench. Like Silas just couldn't figure it out. So I think it was the right move to then let Silas go so you could try to become a little more competitive. But I almost feel like Ime is a signing that's too competitive because like he was coming from a Celtics team that was just in the finals. I feel like you almost need like a bridge coach. You need like another decent coach to coach them for like 2 more years. Then you can fire them, and then you can bring on the serious coach. Like they're ready to compete in like 2 or 3 years right now. The way I see it, they're not ready to compete now, but they're trying to, and I don't like it. I think it's dangerous,
yeah,
and that's also when you can
that,
start making like bad decisions because you bring in James and Ime, and then you're like, okay, like we need like a second star now to go with James Harden, and like that's when I could see them doing something like trading away Şengün and Jalen Green to get someone who's been like a 3-time All-Star, and it's like, oh, this just sucks.
yeah.
So we'll
And then
see.
you've thrown away the next 5 years. And
Yeah,
completely speculating, but like just looking at the situation, like Sengun to me is a future bona fide superstar. The guy can do everything. Maybe like whatever, like his defense isn't like exactly what you want, but like his instincts, he's sneaky athletic, which is like the white guy thing to say. But
yeah, yeah. It is sneaky, sneaky bounce.
sneaky bounce. But he really does have sneaky bounce. And yeah, like if just looking objectively at that situation, like I would be on if I'm Sengun, like I'm kind of on thin ice with this team who like does not see that in me, and they opt to give like every possession to Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr.
It's
to
gonna be
have
weird
like,
when he's up for like a contract extension. Like, imagine if
yeah,
he just like walks in free agency at some point because there's like not treating him right.
right.
I
And
don't,
then
I
they're
don't, I don't think that would be the case, but like, oh my god.
yeah, but it's like if they kind of give him the same treatment as they did last year. Like I feel like other teams, that's just the feeling I get, would treat him so much better. And like he's
Yeah,
20.
yeah. I think the Rockets did him dirty his first two seasons, definitely last year. I do think Ime will do a better job though. I read something recently, it was like an Ime quote, and he said like he thinks the best way for this offense to function is to essentially play through Şengün more, have Jalen Green and KPJ play more off ball from Şengün. So like if that's true and they go into camp and like realize it's the best way to do it and roll out that offense, all of a sudden I can kind of get excited about this team again. So we'll see what
Yeah.
Ime does. I think they're definitely in a better position having him rather than Silas.
And maybe like Ime kind of seems like he would come in and like he made a finals appearance his first year and like he had the scandal, so maybe he's desperate to kind of fix his reputation. But who knows? Maybe he's down to take the long approach. Maybe we'll see like some maturity in his coaching and he'll they won't make any desperate moves, and that would be very nice to see. They should add some veteran role players and they should kind of build in that way, but they have such a diamond in Sengun, and they've kind of opted to give Jalen the superstar rookie treatment instead. And I think it would do Jalen some good to kind of play second fiddle a bit. Like the guy was the man with the G League, and then the man as soon as he came to the Rockets. Like you're gonna want him to be an off ball guy soon if you
Yeah, and
want him
like
to be.
and yeah, and frankly, like the Rockets offense just like sucked with him running the show. So it's like, we just kind of got to be like, hey, this just doesn't seem to be the most efficient way to run an offense. You know, ideally he would change his style up a little bit. Like he's still like a phenomenal player. Can like really, figure out a way to get off like, nice looks, but he just needs to take like less like off balance 3-point fadeaways. I want to die every time I see him take one of those and just like take a catch and shoot. I don't think I've ever seen him take a catch and shoot three. It's actually insane. It's like the Rockets offense is so bad that it's like I feel like things are gonna be a lot better with Ime. I just think that's
I,
gonna be the case.
Jalen Green is the guy that you see at LA Fitness who just will not pass the ball, and he's just there to get his highlights. And like
Yeah, and
sometimes
it's like, yeah,
against the Celtics, he had like an insane game. He shot like 8 of 10 from three or some bullshit. Like sometimes it's
yeah,
beautiful. But you're like, nah, like you're doing way too much, my guy. It's not conducive to winning. So
yeah, yeah. I agree. All right. Any closing thoughts on the Rockets?
just wishing them the best. Like they have such a talented young core of like guys that are like 20, 21, 22. I want to see them succeed. I have a friend that lives in Houston, so I'm wishing them the best. And a little redemption arc for Ime wouldn't hurt either. Like I don't wish on his downfall. So, and fuck Silas, I hated him so much for not giving Sengun
Yeah.
any
Oh
time.
my God, me too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can definitely, yeah. Fuck Silas, and as far as the Rockets go, just don't fuck it up. Like you got
Rooting
everything you
for
need
them. I
right
love.
now. Yeah, I'm in Houston. I would love to go to like a Rockets game and have them be competent. That would be amazing. So we'll see. We'll see.
Did you end up going to a Rockets game? You did, yeah.
Not, yeah, yeah. I've been to one, and Şengün was marvelous to watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's great in person. I recommend everyone do it if they get the chance. All right, advancing. My first
Dancing.
team. So my first one, which I thought was like a pretty easy choice, was the Timberwolves. Because like not only were they in like such a weird in between zone the last couple of seasons, but it's obviously gotten a lot worse since trading for Gobert. And now it's gotten like even weirder because they said that they're now going to look into trading Karl Anthony Towns essentially to like cover their asses for the Gobert trade. They're like, this didn't work, so now we're going to get rid of Cat, who's their second best player, instead of getting rid of Gobert. And they're just like missing so many draft picks now because of the Gobert trade. And I just think this team is in such a bad spot right now. And I don't think they know what they want to do. And it's kind of hard to figure out what they should do. Cause like they could blow it up and be like, all right, we're gonna build around Cat, or sorry, we're gonna build around we're gonna trade Cat, trade Gobert, build around our young guy. But you've got 4 first round picks out the door to the Jazz. So like if you tank, you're not even gonna get those picks. So it's like that doesn't really feel like it's worth it. You could trade Cat, but then are you trying to like win a championship around Gobert and Anthony Edwards? Like that's just not gonna work. Um, I don't know. It's like the best solution honestly might be, yeah, I think there's like a little bit of a sunk cost fallacy with Gobert, but like it might just be like trade Gobert for like 1 first and just get back to Anthony Edwards and Cat, but I don't think they're gonna do that.
Yeah, no, they are a very chaotic organization for sure. And like the disastrous Gobert trade, I think whether they trade Gobert or Cat, I personally don't think either is that much worse than the other. Like, I don't think Gobert is a horrible
You're pretty.
basketball.
Are you low on Cat then or high on Gobert? Maybe both. Because
I'm low.
I think Cat is like way more valuable.
I think Cat is more. Hmm,
Like I think Cat is like I think he's a little bit of a bitch. Like he plays soft and like oh my God, like the quotes he's been dropping on podcasts like the last 2 weeks have been like absolutely insane. But like one of them that like annoyed me the most was when he was like, um, if they let the offense run through me, I would drop 40 every single night. And it's like you just don't assert yourself, Cat. Like you have all the opportunities in the world to like drop 40 and go off. But like but then like the playoffs happen and you take like 6 shots. Like that's on you. Like you got to demand the ball. You got to make something happen when you get it. And instead he just like stands in the corner and like hopes he gets an open corner three. And it's like I don't know. It's like I think he's got like all the talent, but I feel like he's just like I feel like he just doesn't have like a good strategy for scoring in basketball. Like I feel like he just doesn't like I don't know. He just doesn't have a good idea of how to do it.
yeah, which is insane because like looking back, you this version of Cat didn't seem like possible because he has like he's such a good shooter and like
So good.
great
He's like
finish.
the best 3 point shooting center ever.
Yeah, I don't want to give him that title. Like statistically, yeah, but like fuck you, Cat.
And it's off like insane volume. Like he takes 10 threes a game. He's like taking almost as many threes as like Steph Curry. Like he's so talented. He can dribble the ball. He's like pretty athletic. He's just like super technically sound. He's just this awesome player. And it's really weird to kind of like see where he was at his first 5 seasons and like see where he is now. Because it felt like he was like a superstar, like very quickly in the league. Like he was just like acknowledged to be like, probably a top 20 player. And I would just like you like watch the games and it feels like the impact isn't really there.
And he's so cringe. He's so
So
cringe.
cringe. Oh my God.
I I
Revolution the
like
center position.
I enjoy cringe. Like I think it's kind of funny. There's definitely an
Right.
extent, but that clip where it was
I
his
know
first
exactly what
game
you're gonna
back,
talk about.
yeah, and he's like he hit like 2 free throws to win the game. Like cool, dude. But like that post game interview, he's like, I did that, I did that.
Oh my
It's
God.
just like pure like Walter White pure cringe. It's like amazing. Put that straight into my veins, and
Yeah.
I do feel in that video. So, but yeah, they're a big question mark. I think in the regards of like what to do with Gobert and Towns, and like there seems to be no possible way to get this team to compete like for real. But at the same time, I don't think they're a question mark in the regards of like if they keep either Cat or Gobert, they're just kind of stuck in that like bottom of the playoffs area. Like they're gonna win like 45 games, and that's just kind of
Yeah.
their destiny is kind of in stone in that regard. But definitely a question mark with just like what the fuck do you do with this team?
Yeah. And maybe that is what they do. Like maybe they do just ride the wave of mediocrity until all of their picks have essentially gone to the Jazz and they have their own 1st round picks again. And then they could tank. So you essentially like wait out Cat until Cat's like, 35 or something. Then he's like definitely on the decline. Either walks in free agency, you trade him for kind of nothing. Same with Gobert, trade him for kind of nothing. But then you've got your picks back, so you can finally tank. At that point, Anthony Edwards is probably only like 27. So like, but like that's kind of a bad time to start tanking then, because that's like when you want to be good with Anthony Edwards. So it's like I don't know. There's a mess. They just really shot themselves in the foot. They go Bear trade. Um, Especially like the talent they let go. Like Walker Kessler's so good. He's already better than Gobert. Like he's like I think
And
anybody would straight up rather Walker Kessler than Gobert. Like the contract's better, the defensive efficiency is better. He's just amazing. Like he's literally just like the same thing but better than Gobert. And it's like he's also included 4 first round picks. And what else was included too? There are other good players that got included in that trade. They also included Malik Beasley and
yeah,
Jared Vanderbilt. And Jared Vanderbilt's good.
yeah. And Conley, or am I
No, I forget where they got Conley from, but I don't think Conley was a part of that deal.
I don't think
Because
so.
they've had
But
Conley for a couple of years now. Or they did, or they
yeah,
traded him.
no, maybe it's coping, but I think Gobert is not a horrible player. I think he still has some upside,
I
some
think he's
very
a bad
competitive.
fit though.
He
I think he's a
is.
bad fit and it was like a big overpay. Like I think he's like an 82 in 2K. Like that's like what I'd give him.
Yeah. The overpay is like definitely where he just tanks his value completely.
Yeah,
But
and
like,
what's tough is like a lot of. Oh yeah, sorry. Continue your thought, and then I'll go.
no, I was just saying I think there's a world where they could kind of recreate what the Jazz had with Mitchell and Gobert with him and Ant, and they're kind of a middler team in the West where they're never really competing, even though the Jazz were legitimate for a little bit, but I think Gobert is a great defender. He's a good pick and roll guy. And maybe it's because he's French, but I do kind of lean more towards like if you're gonna trade him or Cat, you're gonna get more out of Cat through that trade. And Gobert is at least like gonna make your defense good, and he's gonna be kind of a rebounder and better
Yeah,
alongside Anthony
he's gonna
Edwards.
contribute. Yeah, and I think, and I will say, like it is fun to speculate the Cat trades because Cat's still really good and he's got time on his contract, so you can get a lot for him, but he's not like in the Kevin Durant tier where he's almost impossible to trade for. And there are definitely be suitors. Like it'd be interesting if like the Knicks wanted him and maybe there was like an RJ Barrett, Julius Randle package to get him. Like maybe there's something there. Kind of gross. Like I don't think I really love that if I'm the Wolves, but that's something. I think Jaylen Brown is too good, but if the Timberwolves could get someone like Jaylen Brown for Cat, and they essentially get like this like great two-way wing, and all of a sudden it's like Anthony Edwards, a wing, Gobert. Maybe there's something there. So I think they could get creative. Maybe that is their best route, but it's gross. I think they're probably like the last team I'd want to inherit if I was going to be the GM of any franchise. So that's why they were my biggest question mark.
The Knicks trade was kind of interesting, like a Randall for Cat kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think has some.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. We definitely do some trade speculation a little bit later this summer, but I think essentially they could like move Cat for some forwards or just like a forward who's like all-star caliber. That might be their best move. All
Yeah.
right. Anyway, we've definitely like beat the hell out of the Timberwolves now. So you wanna give me another team?
My last team, not super sexy, but I think just this off season we're gonna see it could go one of many ways. Is the Raptors with kind of the contracts
Yep.
they have this off season and the coming off season. Pirtle and Van Fleet being I think both unrestricted free agents. I'm not positive about that. But then
I think they are.
Gary Trent's got a player option next off season. Pascal is a free agent next season. OG, I think, also has that player option next season. So they're just like, I don't know. This franchise could there are so many outcomes, I feel like, in the next 2 years of where they end up. I think it looks like it'll probably be more negative than positive, but It's interesting. It's a question mark.
Yeah, the Raptors were my third team. I was definitely looking pretty deeply into them. The only reason like I have them up at like my second team is because like I still kind of have faith in Masai Ujiri. I feel like he's a competent person running a front office, and I think that matters. So I feel like he's going to figure out a pretty good way to solve this mess. But like it is absolutely a mess right now, and I don't really know what direction they're going to go in right now because it sounds like they're going to let go of Fred VanVleet. I bet they'll probably try to bring back Pirtle. I think Pirtle's really good. And I think he's like, and he's still pretty young, so I think he still would kind of fit the timeline of Scotty Barnes. But like if they're also then trying to trade OG, they're kind of in a weird spot because they'd like in theory be getting worse by getting rid of Van Fleet, getting rid of OG. So it's like the team's kind of taking a step back if you do that. So it's like, do you want to go full tank then? It's like, or are you banking on like Scotty taking a big step and like Siakam taking on more of the offensive load? I don't really know if that's the move. So then you go like full tank and trade Siakam. I kind of don't hate that idea, but they're in a really weird spot.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And I think Pascal is unrestricted next year, and he's
Yeah,
29.
it's like yeah, it's a tough spot. And then like what makes that even tougher too is then if he's unrestricted after next season, then you're not even able to like trade him for that much if you trade him now. Because that's kind of like anyone who's trading for him is trading for him as a flyer. So it's like maybe you get the same haul that the Nets got for Kyrie. Like maybe you get like a one first round pick for him. So it's like you're not even like doing that great. Which is kind of why I think they kind of fucked up. I think they should have blown this up last trade deadline.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, also, I think they should have done that, or I think they should have done the Scotty for KD trade. Like they could have traded Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant, and they said they didn't want to trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant. I feel like that feels kind of stupid right now. Like Scotty like wasn't that good last season. I think Scotty's still like a really good young player. I still love his potential. But I think I would just rather have Kevin Durant.
Yeah, Scotty, like I've grown a bit colder on after this season just because I feel like the scoring, it's like teams have figured out pretty quickly that you can give him all the space in the world, and he's super athletic, and like the playmaking kind of improved, but like I don't know. He shows signs of like Rondé Hollis Jefferson a bit. That sounds extreme, but
Oh my God,
with
ouch. Ouch.
no, he has incredible size and incredible handle, incredible athleticism, but like I think it is a pretty big red flag that his scoring showed zero improvement, if not maybe tapered off a bit with teams better game planning against him.
Yeah, he feels a little
And
raw.
I don't
It's like
know,
it's almost like
where he's putting
yeah,
up 20. I don't know.
he might not have like the natural scorer's touch. It's like I feel like he like forced it up to 20, but it almost feels like Scotty is like your ideal number three guy in a championship team, where he's like this like really good defender, good passer from the power forward position, plays physical, maybe kind of and like everyone loves to say like the Draymond Green thing, like, oh, this team needs a Draymond Green, but maybe he does kind of like take a position like that. But I feel like he's not. I feel like you don't want to be your first or second scoring option. I feel like he's just like good facilitator, great defender, which is good to have, but you just kind of need more than that. So maybe
For
it does
sure.
make sense for them to kind of look in another direction.
Yeah. No, Scotty and him in himself, he's I think a pretty big question mark. And like,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
and just like side tangent again is like they could have gotten so much from their players at the last deadline. Like Siakam with 2 years left, like they could have gotten like three or four picks from him. I know Van Fleet only had a year left, but they're gonna let him walk in free agency anyway. You could have got a first round pick for him. Apparently, there are teams that are willing to give like four first round picks for OG and Anunoby last season. Like, take that. Like, I feel like that's like great value for OG. Like, I know OG's a great player, like great defender, 18 points per game, but I think four first round picks is fair value for him. I just think that's worth it, especially if you're a team that probably needs to look to move in the other direction and start tanking. Essentially, like get rid of everyone who's not Scotty, be bad for like 3 years, hopefully get some lottery picks, and then like ideally get some scorers to be those like primary options around Scotty, and then you got a team. But I don't see how this team like gets back to even like I don't know. I don't even know how to get back into like really like competing to like be in the playoffs. Like they just look like a play-in tournament punching bag right now.
Yeah, no, Toronto, they're in a tough spot, and it feels like historically they just don't attract free agents, so they kind of hold on a bit too tight to their players who they think have like any sort of potential. But no, the hindsight being 2020 is so true with like all the trade offers they could have had and how the Lakers were, like yeah, Van Fleet would have been such an easy trade to get some value back. OG for first round pick sounds amazing at this point, but yeah, poor Raptors. I would not want to be a Raptors fan right
Yeah.
now. And it
No, no,
sucks.
it's tough seeing it. And it's like and they got a lot of assets too. It's like it feels like they could have done something. They kind of just let all their assets expire.
Yeah. And now a new
Hey,
coach.
they got a ring at least. They got a ring with Kawhi, so hey, that's something. Yeah, as if it was even Nick Nurse's problem. Like Nick Nurse is an amazing coach. Like, oh, I don't think you're getting better coaching production from whoever you hire.
Did he sign elsewhere? Is he Philly? No.
Where did he sign?
I
He
don't know.
might
I'm
have been
having
Philly. Google it real quick. We're on a podcast, so we have to be a resource for everyone listening because now everyone wants to know.
Yeah, the Sixers.
The Sixers got it. Sweet. All right, we're running out of time a little bit here, so I'm gonna do like a quick monologue on my last team, and then I think we kind of just like wrap it up from there.
Sounds
Um,
good.
Last team was the Mavericks. I feel like they kind of took their big shot at Kyrie. Feels like it
Oh,
didn't work out. I think he's gonna walk, and I think they're out of resources now, and they're somehow at the cap. I don't know who they're paying because their team is like absolutely bereft of talent outside of Luca. So it's like you've got no money now. You've got no picks. You do have the 10th overall pick this year that you like intentionally missed the playoffs to get. So like unless they nail this pick and this 10th overall pick is like immediately a superstar, probably not gonna be the case. I It just feels like they're kind of cooked. I just don't know what they do. It's like I feel like there's gonna be like mid for a couple more years and Luca demands a trade and then that's it. That kind of feels like the path that they're on. It feels like it's gonna be really hard for them to get off that path.
yeah, no, and bad optics with how they tanked at the end of the season. Personally, I
So
think Mark.
bad. So embarrassing.
Yeah, and like the way they let Brunson walk, that was kind of messy, and like I don't
It
know,
was like a
they're very
bargain contract now for the Knicks. Like the Knicks got he's looking like a steal now. But like I think at this point any team would be like more than willing to pay him 30 plus million per season. It's like 27 million is like amazing for him.
yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see where Kyrie ends up. He wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't a
I
great
I
fit.
I I think a team will sign him. I think a team will give him 4 years, 150 million or something. I think teams can
Yeah,
still very easily convince them that it's worth it. Um, Especially for teams who are kind of in like a middling zone right now and are just like desperate. Like for teams who are desperate, Kyrie Irving like is that life raft that you can grab onto. It might just drag you straight to the bottom of the ocean, but it's worth the gamble for some of those teams.
yeah. I wonder like what are the odds he stays in Dallas and like I was like decently hot on the idea of him and Luca just being two unstoppable forces who kind of I think are willing to have like each take their turn kind of thing. And like maybe it's just me kind of hedging that I thought they could be decent, but it just feels like there's a complete lack of talent around them. And like, I mean, Christian Wood was kind of a disaster too. In the fact that I think they didn't give him a chance or like play him nearly enough. But
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna finish this maps discussion another time because I can tell we're about to run out of time here. So thank you fans
okay.
for tuning in. Great pod. It's gonna be a long one, so like we'll post it up either in the chat or on YouTube later. But you know, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for coming, Paul, and until next time.
Yeah, I love these. Thank you. Peace out. Peace and love.
All right, see you, fans. Peace and love.